So one of the things I did recently, when we done a product launch of the Pavotube X series, I took inspiration from some TikTok videos, and what they basically did in their gaming rooms, they laid down LED lights on the ceiling and then covered it with cotton wool, and then basically through apps they were controlling it to make it look like thunder and lightning and chasing light and stuff. And I thought that was quite an interesting thing, and one of the key features to make it as convincing and kind of fun as possible is the ability to have pixel control. And because obviously the Pavotube X has pixel control, I built a cloud basically. Look, I hung from the ceiling and then controlled it through application to make it do a range of different things. So I'm going to show you how I did that. Now, in terms of showing you, I'm not going to teach you to suck eggs. It's pretty straightforward. The equipment I used is some standard chicken wire, so that comes in reels, and you use that to create the cloud shape. Then the Pavotube would obviously go inside that, so you need to make sure it's the right length. So this here is obviously the right length. Then with clippers, I obviously cut the chicken wire, and then a range of cable ties. So the reason you use cable ties is you can break them down. These are not a permanent fixture, so they would go up and then break them down. So if you wanted to create a music video with an array of different clouds just to create like a really striking look, obviously this is kind of, you can use this to recreate it. And then I use these kind of cable ties to be able to mount it and suspend a tube from inside it. In terms of making it as realistic as possible, one of the things you can do is add 2 tubes or 2 fixtures inside the same space. And the reason for that is basically you will have one tube that has the pixel control, and that will kind of move through different colors and it will look very convincing and look like a very dramatic, moody cloud. But then with the other fixture, say for instance like a Litolite 5C or a Pavotube 6C or something along those lines, fix that inside the cloud as well, so you've got 2 sources of light. So you set the smaller one to the lightning effect and the other one to change through the colour. Then what you've basically got is a very moody, dramatic cloud with the ability to look like it's got thunder and lightning as well. If you do that with just one source, you have to go for a series, so you can only do like the pixel hue loop, or you can only have the lightning feature. Whereas if you've got both of them combined, you can have the colours as well as the effect of lightning, which I think is pretty cool. So in terms of building it, I'm going to go about building it now. Might film some of it. It could be quite sort of a fiddly process, so I'm not going to take you all the way through it because it would just be too long. You get the idea. Chicken wire, create a cloud-like shape, make sure it's secure, suspend it. Using a glue gun, you can then add your cotton wool to the outside. In terms of cotton wool, I bought a big box of this for like £30 or somewhere along the lines, like 2 kilos I think it is, which is a huge amount of cotton wool. In terms of getting it fixed to the chicken wire, you just plug it through the holes. Once it's in, kind of build some layers up, look for where there's weak spots. But what you also want to do is where there's weak spots, build up certain areas, because then you will get sort of pockets of darkness and it will look like a moody cloud. If it's all consistently the same kind of depth or the same thickness, it just will look like a fake cloud, whereas having kind of the depth within it, it looks more. So bear with me, let me get started, and yeah, we'll take it from there. So first of all, we want to create a cloud. Where are we gonna go? Chicken wire is really good as well because it's very easy to manipulate and cut. Be careful though with chicken wire, because obviously once you do cut these ends, they're extremely sharp. So you can either tape them up or sort of bend them back on themselves, and that will just protect you. And then the great thing with this, the reason this really works is actually because of the Nanlite app. So because I've got the Nanlite app, I can control the features inside it. If I set it to one function and just left it, that pattern becomes quite like, it's a repeated pattern, and it becomes very easy to recognize what the repeat is, so then it loses its conviction. Whereas if you've got access to the app and you've got access to all the different functionality, you can change it and mix it up and all the rest of it. So I'm going to build 3 of these bad boys using the 15X and also a smaller one, the Pavotube 6C. You can obviously use the 30X, you can use whatever you want, but I'm just going to use the 15 because they're manageable sizes. So this is now going to turn into a cloud. Flatten it all out initially, like so. Bend this stuff back on itself. Create a bit of a, there we go. And like that's roughly what we're looking for. So this kind of cylinder shape, obviously you can tidy it up, round it off at the end, but you still need to put the tube in there, so bear that in mind. So I'm sort of halfway through my first cloud. So you can see in terms of connecting it all, it's quite straightforward. So I just take the cotton, or not cotton, the fluff or whatever it is, yeah, it might be cotton wool. And then I just basically pop it through the holes. Now, it's not very secure initially, but then once I've got it all set, the next step from there is I use an adhesive spray. So once this is built up and set in place, I then give it a spray with the adhesive. So you can see it starting to come along, and it's pretty straightforward. It's a bit time consuming, but it's quite easy to do. You always want to keep the structural integrity of the actual cylinder or the cloud, and the more you build up, the more it will start to look like a cloud. So you can see there, it's starting to look like a cloud already underneath that light. And what you'll effectively have is, if I switch this on and show you now, I'll stick this inside. And so we're on a hue loop at the minute. So when you plug that inside here, as that kind of scrolls through those colors, you then get the effect of a cloud. And you start to move through. It's quite cool, the film that I'm making. So stick that in there, and you can see now we've got this multicolored rainbow cloud, which is a really cool effect. Dim the lights as well. So let me just jump on to my app. Let me just take down my key light. You can see the darker it is, the more effective this becomes. And yeah, all we've really done is we've got a bit of chicken wire, a tube inside it, and it's suspended. And that's the process. And once I'm done with filling this up with cotton wool, as I said, what I will then, not cotton wool, or fluff, or whatever you want to call it, once I've done that, I'll then spray it with this adhesive to create a bit of a seal to lock it in, and then it's a case of just suspending it from ceiling. Now, these are going to be powered. I'm going to run mains into these because they're going to be up for quite a long time, so I'm not going to be running on the battery life because I want them to last for quite a decent time. And you can see they're quite easily built together. But yeah, so halfway through our first cloud. So here you go, my first cloud is done. Now I'm going to turn down my key light so you can kind of get the effect as much as possible. And yeah, I've also got a Litolite 5C in there, so I can kind of whip this guy out. So this guy's in there, that's doing the lightning effect. I stick that in there like so, and that just brings it a little bit more to life. If I wanted to, I can go into the settings. If I wanted it to be really menacing, I can kind of just change the hue. So I want to go up to, you know, 360 is red, so 360 degrees is red. This is a blue. I want it to go like purpley red and kind of sit in this space, be a little bit menacing. So if I go to 300 degrees and then that gives me the extra 60 degrees within that space, it will kind of turn like, it will be angry and red, kind of stranger things sort of vibe. And with the additional light in there, you then get that convincing look of a cloud. And you know, you would lift this overhead, that's going to sort of elevate over you. And when I said earlier about the pockets, so not having a consistency in the actual fluff or the filling, if there's inconsistencies, which is quite easy to do, you'll basically get these shadows, these pools, which are reminiscent of what a cloud would look like. So I think the more rougher, the more convincing the effect is. And you know, it's quite a decent size, it feels, it's rounded, and yeah, I'd say that's quite a convincing cloud as a special effects for a music video or any level of production. So quite simple to do. You just need a light that has the ability to do pixel effects, so pixel control. So moving between a range of different lights. Of course, you can have multiple lights inside here, all doing different things, but it then becomes a little bit more complicated. And you also want the application control as well. So having one Pavotube 15X and then also the Litolite 5C, that gives you the options to control both of those within this to add and kind of change the effects to make it as convincing as I need it to be. If I wanted to, I could just turn it so it just has the lighting effect. So if I was to switch off the X and just leave this, the Litolite 5C will just flash every now and then. So what you might want to do is have 3 or 4 of these clouds all set up to different configurations to create a really dramatic kind of looking skyscraper, or sort of not skyscraper, like a sky scene with dynamic colors. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope this, you know, gives you some inspiration. You can go and create some amazing stuff. If you have any questions, pop it down below. Always happy to help. And until next time, see you all soon. Take care.